Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Take Care and Live podcast. We're really excited to have you here today. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen, and we're going to continue our conversation on momentum. We're going to focus on momentum thief number 3, being over obsessed with preparation and avoiding execution. Today, we're going to talk about why we tend to be fat on information and skinny on implementation. For the most part, you don't need more information. You don't need more information. What you need is more action. And our failure to realize that it is our insistence or over obsession with information as opposed to engaging in execution is what steals a significant amount of our time. You know, I get to spend my time with a group of thought leaders and executives and entrepreneurs each month. And during that time, we typically have an opportunity to talk about a real world challenge that we're facing. And one of our group members, without telling anybody's business, was actually experiencing a situation with the business that he runs, that he owns. His job is rather demanding. And what he was facing was this need to work through a time value and productivity challenge. He was dealing and being honest about his fear of missing out, his FOMO, or what we uncovered more specifically was a fear of missing information, FOMI. He was experiencing FOMI more than he was FOMO. His job was demanding from his perspective. The stakes were high, and the group members were working together to try to help him think through why this fear of missing information or this FOMO was really taking ownership of his time rather than the reverse. And during that conversation and during this strategy session, one of the members of the team said something so profound that really was lined up with what I've been teaching us about momentum in a real tangible way. You know, she began to describe how, you know, she, in her business, she does speeches and conferences, and often her team gives her information, FYIs, things to consider to talk about in that conversation that she's going to be a part of. And one of the things she said was, she said, yeah, that information could be helpful. And I could probably give a much better answer or a better answer, but I already have good enough answers. And so I have to make the decision to go with what I already know. And that seemed to just slap me in the face as a real reality that people struggle with all the time, because we're always trying to get more and more information. And oftentimes that more and more information gets in the way of the more and better application. When she said, I already have good enough answers, I could have stood up and shook her. Okay. I was like, woman, you were dropping bars today, right? Because that is the challenge. That is the challenge. Momentum is the determination to identify your most important goals and consistently dedicate the time and emotions and tangible resources to those things so that you are then able to experience progress. And as you achieve them, you are liberating your mind, will, and emotions to serve other people in achieving their priorities. So there is a reciprocal impact to momentum if you apply the reality of taking action as opposed to just gathering information. You know, the whole momentum series is really driven by a single passage that I don't think I've brought up to you guys in the prior episodes, but this whole Momentum Thief series is really grounded in a proverb or a passage of scripture, really from the book of Ecclesiastes 11:4, which says, if you worry about the weather and don't plant seeds, you won't harvest crops. If you worry about the weather and don't plant seeds, you won't harvest crops. Essentially, that's saying if you wait for perfect conditions, you won't get anything done. Your time and attention cannot be with over obsessing about getting everything just right. There comes a point when information gathering or gathering more information isn't as useful as applying the information you already have and using that to the best of your ability to make the impact you're supposed to make in the situation and time that you're in. If you spend all of your time hoarding knowledge and little to no time into putting it to practice, you will likely be like a stalled car. You'll be like a stalled car in the middle of a highway, and you know what happens in those situations? That stalled car doesn't just impact itself and the driver who is in the driver's seat facing that situation. That stalled car is holding everyone else up too. That stalled car is holding up everyone else too, to some degree, to some level. And so living in the time where everything is at our fingertips does not mean that you consume every piece of information. There's a such thing as being fat on information and skinny on implementation. All right. And so, yes, gathering intelligence, gathering information is important. But then after you do it, execute, right? Give the speech. All right. Assign that work stream to someone else who has the capability and the capacity of skill to do it. No, they're not going to do it like you, but they've got the capacity and the will to build their energy and effort towards it. So hand it over to them. Take the step that you need to take, that you've been stalling to take, because you don't get better by standing still. You get better by taking action. So use the good enough information you already have to make the impact that needs to be made now. You'll refine it along the way. That's what matters. Which brings me back to momentum thief number 3, which is obsessing over preparation and avoiding execution. Stop it. Stop it. Stop spending such a significant amount of time gathering information that you are leaving very little room in your time and in your emotions and in your cognitive energy to actually apply it. That's one of the ways you know that momentum is stealing from you. You know momentum is stealing from you when you're on this never-ending fact-finding mission instead of actually applying that information and applying what you already know. You know that your momentum is getting robbed when you begin to doubt yourself, when doubt creeps in the moment you decide to take action. And then you go back in the loop of, oh, let me just find out a little bit more before I make a decision on X. You fill in the blank, right? Or you make the excuse that it's just not where I wanted it to be. Well, this is just not where I want it to be yet. It's not exactly how I want it, right? That's not research. That's not commitment to wanting to be effective. That's avoidance dressed up as productivity. Whenever you find yourself making an excuse to find one more piece of information or wait for one more person's perspective or look for one more sign that you're doing the right thing, you're not engaging in research. You're not engaging in a commitment to be effective. You are engaging in avoidance dressed up as productivity. And of course, there will be situations, and there are situations when getting more information is crucial. Those life and death situations, right? Of course, a pilot needs contingency plans to protect his passenger. What will he do if one engine fails? What's the protocol if the landing gear isn't coming down the way it needs to? Those are real life and death situations. Yes, a surgeon needs a plan, another strategy in his back pocket, another plan in his back pocket if the heart transplant he's about to undergo doesn't go as smoothly as he intended it to be. What will he do next for the sake of preserving the life of his patient? Right? But most situations, my friends, most situations are not life and death situations. Most situations are practical, they're contextual, they're relatively low risk, and they require our courage to act, to assess, and then adjust. That courage to act, then assess, and adjust puts your momentum in motion. And that's how progress happens. You make a move, you learn, you refine, and you do better the next time. So here's the deal. Stop using the need for more information as your excuse for avoiding action. It is a momentum thief. Don't let it become a tactic for you to avoid being accountable to commitments you've made with your lips or in writing and refuse to take action on them. Whether it's submitting your application to grad school, maybe it's launching your business, maybe it's stepping into that consulting business, maybe it's walking away from that dead-end relationship that you know is going nowhere because neither of you, or at least one of you, are willing to commit to building a life together. The truth is, you already have all the information you need. So now it's up to you to move. Okay? It's up to you to move. That's how you get your momentum back. One step at a time. All right, so I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you spending time with me today. I'm going to invite you again to hit that subscribe button. Join me for the Take Care and Live podcast. Each week, I'll be dropping episodes. I'm looking forward to spending more time with you. And I'm also going to invite you to purchase my latest book, The Momentum List, Rediscover How to Delight in Time Rather Than Be Mastered by It. It is a game changer. I cover some of these principles in the series here, and I'm also unpacking some new information for you in this series that I'll be adding to some other resources I'm developing and possibly a new book. So looking forward to connecting with you later. And in the meantime, don't allow yourself to get robbed by the inertia of doing research and getting more information. You take a hold of your next step. You stop over-assessing over preparation and you get involved and get that execution going. All right? In the meantime, do what I want you to do each and every day, and that's to take care and live.